What's going on, everybody? Back here again, Tuesday night, Motorsports Almanac, episode number 25. Mr. Tyler Crossnoe going to be our guest. Running a little behind, he said, in traffic on the way home. So until then, we're going to go over our weekends. Wyatt, what's going on, buddy?
If I could tell you or describe in any way what the weather has been like here, I would just say in one word: chaotic.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys have been getting a lot of rain. Send our good thoughts and prayers to all of our friends that live in Nashville, Illinois, there, Wayne County. The dam giving way today. That was unfortunate to see, seeing some of the pictures and everything. All of our friends that are there. Just thoughts go out to them. But man, we had a heck of a weekend with motorsports. I was in Bowling Green. I pulled off a doubleheader. I was in Bowling Green with ODSS with Charles. And then I went up to Elizabethtown with Mid-South Pullers. Wyatt, you were all over the map, and you're going to be all over the map again this week.
Yeah, last week Thursday we went up to the regional event in Decorah, where great showing. It's been a region event for the past, I think, 6 years now. Always a great show. Packed place. I mean, absolutely packed all the way down the front stretch. Friday, we headed to Eagle Grove, Iowa for another region event. Small town in western Iowa. And then Saturday, we hit the local stuff here in Manchester, about 15 miles down the road. So ended up with a first, second, and a fourth out of those three hooks and gaining more and more data heading into our next Grand National hook next week.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. It's always fun having those short drives going just down the road to be into those hooks. You get to sleep in your own bed and everything.
Yeah, even though it's a long drive, the Eagle Grove one, we did end up getting home around 2:00 in the morning. So
yeah,
a little bit of a jaunt. So
yeah,
but it's pulling.
Yeah, it is. I mean, everything's busy right now, man. ODSS put on a heck of a show there in Bowling Green. And of course, with us, our roots being in the diesel world, I was just like a kid in a candy store. It was so cool. Just some of the ones that I saw. The first one that jumps out in my mind, of course, was the record-setting pass that Michael Cordova laid down with the diesel top dragster, 209 miles an hour with a 3.792 ET, I think it was. And we cannot say a big enough thank you to all of you guys that have been either on our TikTok page or shared on our TikTok page. That thing has got over 100,000 views now from this past weekend. So thank you to everyone who shared that, watched that, what have you. And then, just all the different combinations there. The climate change truck in particular jumps out in mind. They had 3 turbos set up. Sounds just like a diesel super spooling up whenever it's sitting there on the line getting ready to go. It was a lot of fun to see, and I really hope to keep going back whenever they're in the area. Me and Charles had a great time there, and some cars had some breakage from the day before. And then also want to send our good thoughts to one of the drivers there who had caught on fire. Forgive me for not remembering his name right off my head, but
Johnny Gilbert with the blue Corvette.
Yeah.
Hey, and there the man of the hour is.
There he is. What's up, Tyler?
How are y'all?
Good, man. How's everything going down your way?
Solid, man. Another solid day at the racetrack.
Yeah. What you been into today?
Oh, just getting ready. We got a 4-day big money bracket race. Kicks off on Thursday. So,
all right. Tell us a little bit about that. Where's it at? What do people need to know?
First of all, VMP has been really busy the past couple weeks.
Yeah, we've kind of had it turned up here recently. National event, then a couple weeks off for some smaller stuff, and then straight into Night of Fire, and then this week our 4-day triple threat bracket series and a Mega Bucks event, 2 50-granders, 1 25-grander. So big weekend.
Yeah, always. Man.
So for a lot of people that don't know who you are, Tyler, just give a little background of what you do in the Virginia Motorsports Park as well as the PDRA.
So current job title, I guess you would say, would be Vice President at Virginia Motorsports Park and then Series Director at the Redline Oil PDRA Drag Racing Series.
But that entails a lot in itself.
A lot. Yeah. No, I've got a really good team at both. Gavin Carter came on this season as drag strip manager at VMP. He's been with me kind of as assistant race director for a lot of years. We worked together back when I was 21. He was 15 at Memphis. So we've kind of been together ever since. And then, Randy Lee, Dwayne Lang, Kyle, our whole team. I mean, we've just got a really good team over at PDRA, and then VMP. We're growing every weekend. Seems like whether it's a new employee coming in, trying something new to help old employees, make them more efficient and stuff like that. So really, that's kind of where my job has gone this season. To take everybody that's kind of been in the mold at VMP for the last couple of years and make everybody more efficient. Make it to where you're not really having to work as many hours as we have been, because we run pretty lean. Most racetracks that are our size, you'll see 5 to 10 people on payroll. We're right around 4 to 5 full-time people. So we run it pretty lean. But doing that, you'll stack up a lot of job titles on one person, and then you'll just kind of have to divvy it out from there. So Gavin's kind of taking over the drag strip side for me, really taking a load off of a lot of things from my side, whether it's testing or events and stuff like that. So it's been good. Been a good season so far. Fault weather as always, but hey, it's part of it. So when you play out on the outside, you have to deal with the weather at times. So
yeah,
And really,
you had that late one this past weekend though. I saw the pictures that you and I think it was Scott Gore posted up on Facebook about how late you guys were working to get that drag strip dried off and back into shape. What does the process for that look like?
Yeah, that's a big one. We had basically 4.5 inches of rain within 24 hours. So basically, when you get that much rain, it gets underneath the rubber that's on the racetrack, underneath the traction compound, basically lifts it off. Really what you have to do there is just run a scraper blade over it and start over. Gavin started on the starting line side and started that direction. I started at the scoreboards and started that direction. I was in the Bobcat machine that we have, and then Gavin was on the lawnmower machine, both with scraper apparatuses on them to make things quicker. We had about 8 people that stayed all night long with us on our PDRA staff. So we were there Friday morning just in case we, lucked up and didn't have as much rain as we thought. And so basically we kind of everybody left my house at around 8-9 o'clock on Friday morning. I ran home Saturday morning at 10 a.m., took a shower, came right back and walked into the driver's meeting, and then we went racing.
Wow.
It was a wild couple of days working overnight. Just, that's a long, drawn-out process. It took us – we scraped both lanes wall to wall, so which a drag strip of our caliber is 60 foot wide, and then we're 1,320 feet long to the blocks, and then we're past – we actually have concrete that goes past a quarter mile for another 180, 200 feet. So we scraped basically right around 3,000 feet of concrete if you count both lanes and 30 foot wide. We did that in 5 hours with 2 teams. So we were hustling.
You were booking it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a wide open program. Ended up putting us about 4 hours behind schedule for Saturday's PBR Night of Fire, and then we just battled it through there. But really, we did a good job. I mean, all the racers worked with us, knowing what we were up against and knowing what the schedule was going to look like, just kind of hanging in there with us. And really, that's an event where there's no points up for grabs. It's a free entry fee, winner take all, just kind of an all-star race. We had everybody came out and supported. I mean, just forecast did not look good at all. And then everybody still turned out and supported. So it was really cool to be able to pull it off for everybody that believed in us and made the haul to VMP.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's awesome.
The PDRA season so far has been one competitive one so far, but it's been one of, trials and tribulations. You can attest to that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And it's not really just even for us. It's for the race teams and stuff like that. I mean, we watched, early in the year, you guys had Derek Ward on after he won World Series Pro Mod that Norwalk comes out first pass. And I think that oil line come off, and he did everything but wad it up, but was able to kind of overcome that. And I think if I remember right, they ended up like with a semifinal finish, or ended up having a decent weekend out of it. But it was just like, we've had that all year. Like reigning world champion Jason Harris in Pro Boost last week, or in Maryland, comes out, just doesn't look good, car's struggling, ends up breaking a blower round one. You're just kind of like, man, Jason's struggling. And then he comes out here this past Saturday at the Pro Stars All-Star event and just basically ran rapid on everybody. And it's like, well, the champ's back. So it's been one of those weekends. It's been one of those years of highs and lows. You've seen teams that look indestructible and can't make a mistake. Then you've seen teams where really you kind of are like, wow, they can make a mistake. Like that, you don't see that very often. So that's the one thing that I love about our sport is you can ride it all day long of who you think's going to win, but when you line them up on the starting line, it's all everything goes out the window at that point.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's such a different motorsport. I mean, we're not used to what it takes to be a tuner. I mean, yes, Pulling World has their own tuners, but you guys, it takes a whole lot more. I mean, Shane, you saw it firsthand when you went down the PDRA race in Galat at the beginning.
Yeah, man.
There's people flying around everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, everybody was everywhere. It seems like if you don't have like one of the electric scooters, you're kind of the lame kid on the block, honestly. Because I mean, I saw them everywhere, but I mean, it's just as much ground as you've got to cover, you almost have to have it. But everybody was just working on their cars so fast in between rounds. And the thing that the PDRA and just drag racing as a whole, I didn't know happened. They have it scheduled out as to when classes are supposed to start.
Yeah.
And so that gives those teams like a better idea of like what they've got to do, how fast they've got to do it and everything. And I thought that was something that I kind of wish we could implement in the polling, but with our sport, you just never know what's going to happen.
Yeah. It's hard to stay to that. And we have those conversations a lot, just kind of internal and within employees. And then even with racers, racers will come up and be like, man, why didn't, you said we were running at 2, it's 2:15 and stuff like that. So a lot of times it's, you can have an oil down on the racetrack and it takes 30 minutes to clean up. Well,
oh yeah.
Hey, then you're behind. Well, sometimes you can make that up if car count's not as good, or, we kind of build our schedule around 330 entries. That's kind of now it's become normal. A couple of years ago, we were around 250, 260, but we would have a race or two every year that would be above 300. And you're like, okay, you have to build to that because that was what we were seeing as was the biggest crowd we had. I think if I want to say right, last year at World Finals, we were over 400, which that was the biggest race of the year. And then this season so far, we've been over 330 entries, all 4 events between Galat, Virginia, Norwalk, and Maryland. So
yeah, I was going to ask you how many we had at Galat.
Yeah, we were 337 or 335 at Galat, if I remember right.
Yeah, there was a lot of cars. I mean, I was just walking through the pit area, and I'm just like, I think I've already seen everybody, but just as soon as I did, there was another hauler down there. It's like, oh wait, no, I haven't been down that way yet. Yeah, that was a lot of fun to experience.
Is there something that you attribute the new interest in PDRA this season, or why the car count's up? Is there something that you can attest to that, why that is, or it's just?
Man, I would say it's probably just showing the consistency that we've done over the last couple of years. We've had it's no secret in the drag racing world. We've fought a lot of weather with PDRA. We always make jokes now, like the PDRA stands for People Dragging Rain Around. Please don't rain again. Professional Drought Relief Association. Like we make all these things up. It's like all we did was fight rain for like 3 or 4 years at every event. But really, I think part of it is, you get those racers that come out every event and they show up and they're there and you're like, oh my gosh, it's going to rain again. What are we going to do? And when you can still pull off the event, you really start building the trust level of everybody. So I think that's part of it is people believing in what we're doing. We've been consistent with our programs for years about really not swaying on rules too much, not swaying on payouts too much, keeping everything as consistent as we could, because let's be honest, these things are expensive to run. You're not going to go out and pay for your program. But if you can go out and have a good time, be an organized organization to where, like Shane said, hey, look, guys want to run at 2, 5, and 8. You hit 2, 5, and 8. Or, hitting the schedule is very important to a lot of the racers that we have, whether that be because they have to get home on Sunday to run their company on Monday or whatever it may be. Finding consistency in a schedule is very important. And then really, I would say just trying to put our best foot forward and keeping the racers happy, has what's built the racer side of it. It's a double-edged sword because we say all the time, we want as many racers as we can. It's a very competitive series. I would put our racers up against anybody on planet Earth whenever you line up on a racetrack. But you look at that at times and you go, wow, are we chasing people off because it is so tough? I mean, I can tell you, there are no ducks in the pond.
No. Absolutely not.
And I've even said this. We said it last weekend at the Pro Stars race. Our junior dragster kids, I wouldn't want to race them. And they are tough as nails. And they're there's two different classes, a top junior class that's 8 to 12 years old, and then a 13 to 17-year-old in pro junior. I don't want to run any of them. Like they are cutthroat kids and very good at what they do. So the competition level is so high, but when you want to race at that level, you want to race where the best racers are. Going to race somewhere else and say, hey, I went out and won. There was 6 cars there, and we qualified number 1. We had up by a 10th. It's really not that fun. I mean, it's fun. It's fun. It's always fun to win. I don't care where you are. It's always fun to win. But when you kind of relay it and you compare it to where other places are and other things, it always seems like people come back to, I want to be there. I want to be at PDRA. I want to be a PDRA champion. I want to win a PDRA race. So it's really cool for us to sit back and hear that all the time from our racers, not even just the racers, crew members, fans, everything. When people want to be where the happening event is and where the competition level is, it's a special thing every time you pull in the parking lot.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, competition where it's best, it draws the best racers, it draws more racers, it draws more fans. They see good competition, they're going to come back because they want to see that again, over and over again. And in this season, it doesn't matter if it's Pro Boost, Pro Nitrous, Top Dragster, Pro 632. I mean, it's across the board. Anybody can win.
Yep.
Yeah.
I've said,
and that's what's dying to go back to another one.
That's what's so cool about qualifying now is like you'll see people and they're like, oh man, this guy's on the outside. Like at Maryland, this last race, we had 18 or 19 Pro Boost cars. And in the last session of qualifying, I think the bottom side of the sheet shuffled every repair. And it was like, all right, who's on the outside now? Who's on the outside now? And it came down to a pair where a guy was in the left lane, made it in, and bumped the guy in the right lane out because the guy in the right lane didn't make a good run. It was wild. So it was, when you're at that level and you're seeing that much competition level, it doesn't matter where you qualify. As long as you qualify, you have a chance to win 100%.
Mm-hmm. And some of these guys, and nothing against any, some of the guys that don't qualify are household names in any of these categories.
Yeah.
Yep.
And sometimes you look at, when it comes to race day, who didn't qualify, like, oh my Lord, they didn't.
It was kind of like when first race of the year, Todd Tutterow came out, won the first race at Galat, came to Virginia. We had some weather and only got 2 qualifying sessions. Todd didn't make it.
Nope.
Spencer ends up winning the Virginia race. We go to Norwalk. Spencer's not qualified until the last session. And it was like, oh my gosh. Like if we created like this like random deal where it's like, okay, if you go win a race, you might want to be ready to cut your teeth at the next one because you're not going to qualify. But Spencer made it in on the last one, and then we just kind of been rolling from there. But it just, like you said, the competition level is so tough. You can't pull up to the starting line and not have everything you got loaded into it at all times.
No.
Mm-hmm. Some guys clear out their delay box, get a good reaction time, get down the track quick. I mean, it's unbelievable to watch. The races I've seen, it's entertaining from the first pair to the last.
Yeah. I mean, the last 2 years, the World Series of Pro Mod champions have been PDRA competitors too.
Yep.
That's got to be good for you guys and feel good as the director for the series too, that you guys are putting together that tough a competition.
Yeah, for sure. I didn't get to go to the first one. That was actually opening weekend at Virginia that year. So I stayed home and ran the racetrack, but was able to go this past year and they had 5 classes in competition down there at Bradenton. And when it got to the finals of those 5, we had winner and runner up in all 5. So like PDRA racers completely swept the whole deal. I was joking with Wes on the starting line after. I was like, so do you want to coin World Series of PDRA or do you want me to do that? Who's picking the copyright line? So, but it was fun, man. And really, Wes and I talk about it a lot, and we've talked about it with other series directors and people that are involved in the sport. That event is a one-time-a-year deal, but it's really cool for people like myself to be able to go down there and support your people. Like, you're standing on the starting line and you're like, hey, that's my guy. He races with us 8 times a year. That's my guy who lined up beside one of Keith Haney's Midwest cars, or John Maserano's Northeast Outlaw cars, or NHRA, or any other series. It's just cool to stand up there and be like, all right, that's my guys. And you cheer your entire series on. So not only is it fun for the racers to kind of smack talk and have fun with other racers that they may not race with all the time, but for the series directors, me and Raleigh Miller from NMCA, we kind of went back and forth a little bit, just joking around in text, just like, hey, man, you going to come down? We going to talk a little smack on the starting line or what? So, it's just, and I tell Wes all the time, that's what we all need, is some place where we can all join together and say, hey, look, we're going to bring the best we've got. You bring the best you've got, and let's battle it out. And I really think Wes's World Series of Pro Mod is where that's a perfect spot to do that. It's before any championships start. No series have started at that point. So it's kind of a really good season kickoff. It's a really good test session for everybody to go get any off-season changes, test it out, make sure your stuff's good. And that wouldn't be the same mantra. It wouldn't be the same mindset in the summer, in the spring, or in the fall. And the reason why is you're already in a championship hunt. So you race a little bit different at that point. Whereas before points are involved, before you've already got a baseline tune-up or anything like that, you're just going out there and you're just Hail Marying that thing. Like, all right, we've got a baseline from last year, but we changed X, Y, and Z. Let's see what it does. And really, that's what you always see, something crazy happen at that event. And whether it was kind of like Spencer, who qualified dead last in the first year and runs it all the way to the final, and then Derek's car knocks a starter off of it, getting ready for the finals, and Halsey had just swapped a motor in between the semis and the finals. It was wild, just to see the storylines that have come out of that, and to see kind of what that's done for Spencer and Derek has been really cool as well.
Yeah. And Battle Across Association too, the sportsmanship part of it is still very true.
Oh yeah. It's more fun than anything for us. We all work hard 12 months a year to make our series as best as they are, whether it's NHRA, PDRA, Midwest, NMCA, whoever it is. Everybody that's involved in these series, they all work year round as to how do you make the next race on schedule better? How do you make the next time you go back to a racetrack better? We had just finished Pro Stars, and on Sunday I text Tommy Franklin, who owns the series. I was like, hey, man, we need to sit down pretty soon. I got some ideas that we need to change. He's like, hey, man, we just finished about less than 12 hours ago. I was like, yeah, but if it's fresh on your mind, that's when you're going to remember all the little details now. You won't remember them a couple of weeks from now. But exactly. Yeah, it's fun. We enjoy some smack talk, though. I mean, if you can sit back and really make it fun, but at the end of the day, you're all good friends, and you're not gonna leave swinging fists. Let's say that.
No.
You're all gonna enjoy it, and everybody knows it's just for fun whenever it gets down to that.
Heck, and even the guys that bicker each other, pick on each other a little bit, they're still gonna go there if somebody needs parts, change a motor. They're gonna be in there wrenching on it. Yeah, I mean, it happens in a lot of different motorsports, all motorsports, drag racing, dirt track. I mean, it's all over the place.
I was going to say it happens in every motorsport. People can say what they want to about it's a rivalry or something like that. I can tell you, I've had some fierce rivalries before whenever I've been able to race back in the day. And if it would have come down to a run where I was going to have to run them and they couldn't make it and I had a part, we're going over there and helping them fix it because I want to beat your butt on the racetrack. I don't want to do it because we didn't get to race.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's a lot more satisfying when it comes to that way, but
usually it bites you in the ass. Let's just be honest here.
It can.
This part, and then it goes, and then they wear you out on the racetrack. It's like, well, that was neat, cool.
Crap.
Yeah,
it's like now I was scratching my head a little, like, yeah, should I or shouldn't I have?
Exactly. No, and it's and you even said it. It's not even just drag racing. It's not just pulling. It's everywhere. You see it in every walk of motorsport, and people that are not into the sports or into motorsports at all, they kind of hear the stories and they're like, it really doesn't make sense. Why would you help your competitor and stuff like that? They don't understand the family atmosphere that we all have whenever we go to the racetrack and feel, right at home. I mean, I have probably more friends at the racetrack. No, there's no probably. There's a definite. I have more friends at a racetrack than I do anywhere else, and that's because of the family atmosphere that we all have at the racetrack.
Yeah. I mean, I can attest to that, certainly. I mean, like, I was just a stranger just to the media guys that were there, to you, to the drivers and everything. Whenever I came to Galot, I mean, you guys just welcomed us in with open arms. Like, getting to know everybody and all that kind of stuff was really, really cool. I still can't believe that happened, though, back in April. We actually got to make that official on this show and then get to go and watch. That was even cooler.
Yeah, I was glad you got to make it. It was – whenever it all lined out, I was like, man, you got to come now.
Yeah.
Especially that being your first one. It was like, all right, that kind of lines up to be a really cool deal.
Yeah.
And I had to force his butt to do it because he's like,
yeah, I mean,
go.
April's kind of that corn planting time around here. So, I mean, it was tough to get away. But, I mean, I think I kind of had a little help from somebody else that was like, no, you're going to that. He said, you're not going to miss that. I'm not going to let you. So,
yeah. No, it was really good. And the Galot event at the beginning of the year is always kind of it's a high energy deal. Dude, everybody's been sitting back for the winter, and really other than World Series or Pro Mod and the U.S. Street Nationals at Bradenton, it's really about it until that race. So everybody's kind of chomping at the bit to get to the racetrack. So it's a really cool vibe to always be at the first race. So maybe you have to make that like a yearly tradition or something like that.
Yeah, no, maybe keep making the Pro Mod champs from the year before and the current one, especially if they're PDRA going head to head there.
You go. Exactly. And if they're not, we'll just drag them there anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So what's the schedule like for you guys coming up the rest of the year, Tyler?
Yeah, we're about 2 weeks away from going to Martin, Michigan, up to US 131 Motorsports Park. We're teamed up with them on their Northern Nationals. So it's our PDRA classes, and then they bring in some nostalgia stuff, funny cars, top fuels, jet cars. It's kind of their night of fire that they have up there, and we're kind of teamed in with it this season again. So we go there next, and then I think 3 weeks later we go to Bristol Dragway for the first time, going to Thunder Valley there. So that will be that'll be a fun weekend going to Bristol. I remember right, and I'm not a memory buff. Every now and then I can't tell you what I had for lunch yesterday. But if I remember correctly, there hasn't been an all pro mod series at Bristol in over 10 years. So we're really excited to go back. One of my good friends just moved there and kind of took over the drag strip manager side, Jimmy Owen. So looking forward to Jimmy doing a good job up there and taking our talents and our PDRA stuff up there. Well, I think that's going to be one of the most fun and most awkward and weird races of the year. Just because it's a new racetrack for a lot of people. A lot of people have never staged it at Bristol. It's a new racetrack. When you go to a new racetrack, there's always a bump here, a crevice there. Something's not the exact same as the last racetrack. So there won't be a lot of teams that come in with a lot of data. So I think it'll be one of those weekends where you go, didn't see that coming.
Yeah,
it's a big learning curve.
Oh yeah, and that's just even talking about the racetrack. We haven't talked about the atmosphere yet. Going up there on the mountain. So
yeah,
that's when it really tests your know-how of what your setup is. You have your setup tuned in for those racetracks you've been to before, but it's a whole new challenge going somewhere else.
Oh yeah. Big time difference. I have some friends that go up and race at some big money bracket races up there, and it's 8 numbers to a 10th slower as far as the lapse time goes. So it'll be fun to see kind of how our top sportsmen, top dragsters, and the pro mods and all them adjust for that. So it's going to be an interesting deal. And then we close the year back at Galot once in early October, and then back to Virginia for World Finals at the midpoint of October. So 4 races down, 4 races to go. It's going to be fun. Championship points battles are tight right now. We've kind of been highlighting those on our social media over the next couple of days. So
yeah,
that's, when you start looking now, it's, first 4 races of the year, you're kind of talking pro stars and, hey, who's going to get into the all-star race and that kind of stuff. And then the back 4 races of the year are who's going after a world championship. because it's first four down, the next four are the big ones. If you can change your entire season with a good one at Martin, and then you can carry it on through the year. So it will definitely be interesting to see kind of how the rest of the year goes for sure.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'm sitting here looking at the schedule. If I'm not pulling somewhere that weekend, if it's all right with you, I'll probably come down for that one because Bristol's only about 4 hours from me.
I'll think about it. I'll let you know if it's okay.
Yeah. So on a serious note,
maybe
if somebody wants to come and cover PDRA kind of like we did, what's your process for that? Because I mean, it was pretty easy for me just coming in there. But I mean, you've got a lot of guys there. I mean, I don't think I even got to meet everybody.
Yeah, we've got a really good media group that kind of travels around really all of our events. It's kind of a family deal. It's kind of weird. It's kind of like racers. You get to have your buddies in the racers, and then the media group kind of has their buddies in the media room. But I can say our media room has really been deep as far as videographers, photographers, and really they all get along, which is really neat from a business standpoint, because you sit back and you look at it and you're like, man, everybody's kind of battling for the same thing, where everybody's kind of going for the same program at most points. But you really get to sit back and see everybody's individual talents shine in multiple different ways, and it's really cool for us to kind of sit back and see how it all falls out. But really what we do is we have a media form that everybody fills out on our website, and we kind of look through everybody's social media pages and stuff like that. And as long as you have any kind of media background, or you're out there hustling, trying to get things out, or covering any kind of motorsports, we give you a pass for the weekend. Come in, check out what we have going on, help us spread the word of what we're doing. And really, some promoters will look at that and go, man, why are you giving it? Like, it seems like you're pretty easy or pretty lax on media credentials. But the biggest thing in my mind is, if you're helping somebody that's trying to get their foot in the door, or you're trying to help somebody who's new into motorsports, or really you could have somebody coming in that's, hey, I have a big following at Circle Track or with pulling or anything like that. If you can introduce another group of fan to what we're trying to do at the PDRA, there's no negative to it at that point. And that's really kind of the mindset I've always had with media and giving credentials out. Is as long as you're putting forth an effort, and we see that effort kind of on our side after the event, we'll always have credentials for you at the gate.
And I love that you said that, because that's been the main goal of what we've been trying to do here. Like you said, our background is heavy in polling, but a lot of what we do in our engine programs, or even when it comes to the motorsports parts, people, media, it all crosses over in one way or another. So if you can bring that common fan from one motorsport to the next, it builds that fan base more yet.
Oh, for sure. And really, let's be honest, you can go to a pool and you've got supercharged big block Chevrolets. Well, hey, if you go to the drag strip, they're just supercharged Hemis, So, and really, you got Hemis on that side as well. So a lot of it interchanges, and a lot of people kind of forget that. Even like we have a dirtplex at our facility at Virginia, and we do a couple of mud bogs a year and a couple of different things at the dirtplex. And like Todd Tutterow is one of the biggest names in pro mod racing. One of Todd's supercharged Hemi engines from WIO Motorsports is in a mud bog truck. And it's like, that thing makes like 3,500 horsepower. Like, you're going to do that? But my man lights it up and has a ball with it. So it's cool to see the interchange, not only on engine builders and stuff like that, but through the manufacturers, through Hoosier, VP Fuels, people that are diehard in what we do. They're also just as diehard in motocross or in pulling or anything like that.
Yeah, I think the more crossover you can create, the better off everybody is going to be. I mean, like Wyatt said, that's been our mission from the get-go.
Yeah, and there's something always that guys on our side can learn from the drag racers. A lot of what we take and what our learning process has been crowds and sponsors and payout. Whereas you guys, it could be like everyone doesn't understand how we can make a blown Hemi last for 15 seconds, where you guys are doing it for 5.5.
Yeah. I just had this conversation the other day with somebody. They were asking me kind of, hey, what do you think is more impressive? A top fuel dragster going 360s at 330 miles per hour and 1,000 foot, or a NASCAR that drives around Daytona Speedway for 500 miles at 200 miles per hour the whole time. And I'm like, probably a NASCAR. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
what we do is awesome. But you're running on the ragged edge. And it's like, if you mess up in that 1,000-foot, you can blow that thing up. Nothing changes different on the NASCAR side. But to run one at that RPM, at that speed for 500 miles at Daytona or Talladega or anywhere else, that's impressive.
And hold it straight.
And keep it off the wall and keep it out of somebody else's. But just even on the parts management side, on the tires and the fuel and all that, to be able to control what all of us do in our sports is really impressive. And it just goes to show how good parts management has become from an industry standpoint, whether it's engine builder or it's a rocker arm or main bearings or whatever it may be. Those are completely different now in 2024 than they were in 2004, and definitely any difference than they were in 1984. So
yep.
It's cool now to see how good programs are and how long that they can last without having to do a refresh or anything like that.
Absolutely. Sheen, what was your next point? You had something on your mind too. I'm drawing a blank of what I was going to say.
I was going to ask him where do you ever see diesel maybe making its way over to y'all side of things with the way it's changing?
We've seen, so Maddie Graves has come over and raced with us in Top Dragster a couple times with her dragster that she runs in Pro Dragster at ODSS. We've had a diesel pro mod run with us a couple years ago when they were just kind of getting that thing together, and then they were fighting some issues, and I actually ended up thinking they had a crash. And I really don't know what happened there.
It burned up. I just saw him this weekend, actually.
Yeah, he raced with us for a little bit when they were getting that thing lined out. But Maddie's been over to race with us a couple times in Top Dragster and has seen success. I remember they come down and test with us some at Virginia and then all that. But I think I think the diesel world is kind of where the blown Hemi world was about 5 to 7 years ago. It's starting to get hey, we can go out and make representative runs and we didn't hurt it. And now we're learning how to keep them together, and we're getting more races and more runs out of the parts as they go. And I think as you see that getting better in the diesel world, I think you'll see the diesel world start to branch into other forms.
Yeah.
I can tell you when we first started, it was like, oh man, I know what's going to happen here. But now it's like I said, they can go out now and make 20, 30 laps in just normal run. And that's good compared to where they were a couple years ago. And I think that will continue to get better. And as they continue to get more comfortable with their programs to be able to go out and make those laps repetitively and consistently, I think you'll see more diesel combinations step outside of their own series and start racing other series as well.
Yeah. Did you see Michael Cordova's pass from this weekend at all?
I didn't. I heard about it, but I didn't get to see it.
I got
his second drag race ever. He sees a world record diesel pass.
No. Well, yeah, but that's the second record I've seen this year because I think Derek set the
PDRA.
So 2 races, 2 records for me. Yeah.
So basically, what you're saying is you need to keep going to the drag strip when the air's
yeah, exactly.
10-4.
Yeah. Here's that. He was 209.
It's nasty. 379, 209. That's impressive.
Yeah.
He broke that record 3 times in one weekend.
Yeah, I was fixing to say. I remember when the record was I remember when they were beating down the door to go first to the threes. And now you just, like we just talked about, now they're just dipped into the 370 range at 209 miles per hour. I mean, Ryan Milliken's been doing a diesel deal in X275 for a couple of years and has been really, really impressive with the runs he's made. So, I mean, it shows that they make horsepower and they make a ton of download torque. So that's where I've always said, if you can get a handle on that, you better look out. Those things are going to be fast. So that's cool. And to do it at Beach Bend too. Like I grew up 2.5 hours from Beach Bend. I grew up right outside of Jackson, Tennessee. So
no way. Small world.
Yep.
My
so
sister-in-law's from Jackson.
I was not far from Beach Bend, raced there a couple times and enjoy that place. Promoted a couple of events there, and really cool, like one of a kind racetrack that you can't replicate anywhere else.
No, I really kind of hope PDRA comes there sometime.
We've been there before. We went there, I think, in 21 and 22, maybe. I can't remember. Yeah. It all runs together now. But we have been to Beach Bend before. Really cool racetrack. I've always loved that area. The city of Bowling Green is probably the best.
Huge.
It's probably the best city I've ever seen as far as incorporating the city's resources into promoting a drag race. I can remember the Chamber of Commerce board calling whenever we were promoting a race there, hey, what can we do to help? All the tourism departments calling, free television ads, free radio ads. The city absolutely opens up to motorsports, and it's really cool to be a part of that.
Yeah, man, that was a lot of fun for me there. They cover grandstands too. Don't find that everywhere. Shield everybody. It was hot this weekend.
I was fixing to say that doesn't happen very often. And then did you go, if you went over to the left side of the racetrack and sat in the old seats, they were pulled out of a school from like 1900s or 1910.
Really?
If I remember right, it's either, no, I think they're in the 1920s because like we were talking about it a couple years ago. The seats at that place are almost 100 years old. Wow. So we all were joking with the manager and the owner at that point. We were all just like, hey, look, you've got to at least make it 100 years now, and then you can do something with it if you want to change it. But you've got to at least get 100 years out of that deal, just because nobody else can say that right now. It's a cool place, just a unique place. You can't build anything like that these days.
No.
Now I'm going to ask this question: what on the PDRA side, a track that you guys are at, would you recommend to a fan to go to? Town. The town itself, the atmosphere of the town, plus the track itself and the facility. What is there like a superior facility or one that's historic that you would recommend, or one that you just find cool?
That's a tough one. I think every racetrack has their differences. Galot's an 8th Mile racetrack. I think the only 8th Mile facility we go to, but it's a really cool place. It's kind of off the road a little bit, but it's a super nice state-of-the-art facility that just got remodeled about 10 years ago. Everything's state-of-the-art. The asphalt parking's great. The scoreboards are one of a kind, like nobody else has. So Galot's always been a really cool place because it's not as big as the quarter-mile facilities. So it's like big party, little house kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So you always have a cool vibe at North Carolina. Norwalk's a special place. America's Racetrack from Bill Bader, whenever they built that place. It's not as cool now. It doesn't have dollar ice cream. It's like $1.50 now. So it makes you carry quarters around. That's just weird. But
just makes you buy two. Just makes you
exactly.
Buy two.
Yeah, you just got to even that out. It's 5s and 0s. Can't have anything other than that. But Indy's always been a special place just because of the U.S. Nationals being there. It's a historic facility. Bakersfield out in California with the March meet. There's just a ton of racetracks that are really special. If I had to say probably right now, looking at the PDRA schedule, the one that stands out to me, and it's probably just because it's new and we haven't been there yet, is Bristol. I think Bristol will be a really cool racetrack. Sending pro mods down that racetrack with the mountains in the background, the really cool tower that's, it's all coined Thunder Valley. Just a really neat facility. I've been to a couple of NASCAR races there. Been to a couple of drag races there, and it's just a cool place. The sound that the cars make through the mountains is, you can't replicate that anywhere else. So I think Bristol will be pretty special this season. We'll see how that goes. And then, of course, probably the best one on tour has got to be Virginia, right? Come on.
Yeah.
They only host a national event plus an all-star race plus the World Finals. Come on.
We have our hands full, man. But it's a good way to be. We say it all the time. People are, you sit back and you go, man, should you go at a lighter pace and just try to hit a couple runs and move on with your year, or do you go at it and try to make as many people as happy as you can with different events? And just this season alone, we'll host 2 PDRA national events, Street Outlaws, No Prep Kings, the NHRA national event, our PBR Night of Fire that we just finished, a bunch of big money bracket racing, test and tunes, our ET series point series for locals. We really touch a lot of markets that some other facilities can't because they don't have the ground to do so, or don't have the staff to do so. So we're in a really unique position to be able to do the things that we do, and it's really neat to be able to be at the helm of all of it for sure.
Yeah. And the thing is too about PDRA, you don't have to be there in person or to watch it. You can watch it on Flow. I know I've been keeping up with it a lot more even since Galot, just watching it on Flow whenever I get the chance.
Yeah, Flow's really stepped up this season for us on the PDRA side. We've got a jib camera at every event. We have a drone at every event. So to have a partner like them to take your live streaming service to the next level, not only does that keep you guys like tuned in, like you couldn't attend to the event, so you just tuned in to watch. Well, it kind of keeps the whole thing moving for the year of, hey, they're coming close to me in Bristol. I'm going to go to that race because it's my closest event. But if you don't have that service and you're not out there pushing your product when it's a live stream at the event, really are you missing out on eyes that you're educating at that point? So to have a partner like Flo and really they've stepped up this season for us, and we're looking forward to another year and beyond next season with them on our live timing and live scoring and everything. They've just done an excellent job this season to move our feeds up above everybody else's.
I know it was really nice from me because Shane got to make it to the Glot race. I wasn't able to attend, but it was nice to be able to see and pay attention to the action that was happening while he's getting to experience it. So
Yeah.
it can be a very big benefit. And plus for us to have friends on that side, if we're at another event and we want to watch them, we'll just pull it up on the phone. Like, hey, how are they doing?
We do it all the time. I mean, it's funny. We had one race where we were schedule conflict with NHRA, and we were all like, hey, we got a lot of buddies we've got some racers that race with us that are over there and stuff like that. So we'll have the live feed on the tower for NHRA, keeping up with our friends and people that have raced with us before. So it, like you said, a lot of people knock a live stream and oh, that's not the way to do it, and you're missing out on selling tickets and that kind of stuff. I don't think that's it. I really don't. I don't think there's somebody that's sitting 30 minutes away from the racetrack that's going to go, I'm going to sit at home and watch it on my computer screen that's 17 inches wide and the sound muffles through the speakers because it's so loud, when I could go to the racetrack and watch it. I don't feel that's happening. But I do feel like you're educating people all around the country, all around the world, when you can provide a service like a Flow Racing can.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
And I've said this to people too, when they could say, oh, it's going to take away. No, if people want to go, they're going to go.
Yep.
They want to experience that. No, sometimes they can't make it. Yes, you have that service, but they are going to go if they love the sport enough.
Yeah, for sure. And that's where a lot of people I feel are looked at the numbers and go, oh, well, spectator numbers are down compared to what they were in 2005. Well, I don't know if you know this or not, but everything's down since it was 2005. NBA tickets are down, NFL tickets are down, NASCAR tickets are down. Everything's down. So I hate it when people compare things like that, and they're just like, oh, it's not the same as it was in 2006 when IHRA was around. And it's like, well, everything's changed. The entire world has changed. You've seen NASCAR facilities that'll take out thousands of seats, so it looks sold out on television, and completely understand why they're doing it. But at the same time, it's not a knock on the program. It's just the world that we live in today, because not only do we have so many good things going on, we have so many good things going on within driving distance, and it seems like it's all every weekend. Whether it's a concert, a drag race, a tractor pull, a mud bog, a NASCAR race, an IndyCar race, now F1 races. And you sit back and look at it and you go, well, what am I going to go to? So really your window that we've all had for years in the 90s, in the early 2000s of, that circle of things to do was this big. That circle in 2024 is about that big, because it's so hard to lock down on people and say, hey, our show's better than something you're going to go see at a stick and ball sport or anything like that.
Yeah. So do you think specifically YouTube hurts motorsports as a whole?
I don't. I think it can be a well-used tool, just like Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and all of that. I can tell you, you look at Cletus McFarland, anytime Cletus throws a race now, it's the happening thing, and it is packed to the gills and sold out. So I think YouTube can be used correctly. I'm good friends with Clay Milliken, who drives Top Fuel. I kind of grew up like 45 minutes from Clay's door and kind of watched him win all his championships in IHRA, and it's kind of the hometown hero. And he's watched me grow up from little bitty to now at Virginia. And I've watched Clay take his career to a different path now because of YouTube. And not that it's a bad thing, but he's gained so many more fans and gotten into so many more eyes and opened probably sponsor doors, because now it's another way to market your companies that are putting their name on your back. So I feel like it can be positive. I do feel like there's things that are, hey, I'm going to get my phone out and I'm going to Facebook Live this whole deal and get stars and donations and all that. I feel like that's a negative, but the full use of a YouTube program, whether it's a weekly show, whether it's promoting your events based off of results that you just had or anything like that, I think it all can be used to a positive way. But I think it all has to be used in the right way to be able to do that.
Yeah,
yes,
exactly.
And that you can say that for a multitude of things too. It can be used you have to do it in the correct way, not the way that you want it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because there's a lot of things that we think are cool. They're not what other people think are cool.
Can attest to that. Absolutely.
Yeah, man. So I gotta ask, since I know you grew up around Jackson, Tennessee now, what was your favorite class of truck and tractor pulling growing up? Because I know you're down here in my territory. You probably even saw us running around here in 2004, 2005 area.
Wait, did you go to any?
I went to like 2 in my life.
Really?
Really?
There you go.
We were so tied up like with drag racing. Now we would go to like a Friday night dirt track because we didn't drag race on Friday nights. So it was like, we can run to the dirt track on Friday night, go watch it West Memphis or Atwood or somewhere like that. And
hey,
yeah, some Atwood. That's some throwback.
I know Atwood. We had a Grand National Hook there. What, Wyatt? 3 years ago, 4 years ago.
That's some throwback. That's some country stuff right there, boys.
It is in the middle of nowhere. I'm sorry, it's in the middle of nowhere.
But I can remember going to like dirt track races on Friday night, and that was kind of like all right, we're going to go over there and go watch that for a little bit, but we're going to go to the drag strip tomorrow. That was more of the way we would go. I think in my life I've been to like one truck and tractor pull, but I like it. I'm good friends with John Strickland and the Galat teams and all that with all them through our stuff. So it's like every time they do something, I pay attention to it because I'm like, it's my buddies. And I enjoy watching it. We've got a little group right up the road, probably going to try to do an event with them next year, Dragon Motorsports, that's somewhere around us. We've been kind of in talks the last 2 years, and we always seem to come into talks once my schedule is completely booked. But we've wanted to do a pull with them just at our Dirtplex. We've got a pretty good area for it, and it would be pretty cool. So we're going to probably try to look into doing something like that back there next year, along with our mud bogs, and try to open up a couple more doors. We hosted an NTPA deal 2019, I think.
Really?
Yeah, it rained for 7 days in a row. It was marvelous. It was the most train-wrecked program we had. It was like the most worst bad luck program we ever had. You couldn't have scripted a worse forecast. It was just, I felt so bad for the people that had worked on it, and even the racers that came, and it was just like, you can't make up this streak of bad luck. Watch this.
No.
And we ended up, I don't even think we
remember that too. I think I remember that.
We ever ended up putting a truck out there. It was wet. Gosh almighty. I think it rained like 6 or 7 inches in 3 days. And there was nothing anybody could do. I mean, it was just, hey, look, let's not tear up people's stuff. Let's try it again another time. So I've always been like, I don't really have yet to find a motorsport that I won't pay attention to. That's probably like my worst problem. I need to find something. I need to get back into basketball like I used to be when I was younger and played in high school. Something that's not motorsports driven, just to do something different with my life. But I can tell you, it's like we've talked about. Our world is so cool, and to see the way that things the same technology that we have on the drag strip world falls over to the pulling world or falls over to a NASCAR team or something like that. It's cool to see and mimic them back and forth.
I can tell you how many times I've talked to people who's like, hey, do you know they go this fast? Like, no, we didn't know they go this fast. It's the same thing in the racing world. They know that we can tie 4 engines together with 1 transmission.
Exactly. That's the stuff to me that's cool. It's like, how do you mechanically make that work? And so I enjoyed that part of it just because it's that we're not doing that. So how do you make that work? How do you control it and power management and all that? So really cool deal that I enjoy getting to watch.
Yeah. What were the engine combinations that Bollinger's just came out with on Top Gun? I can't remember what.
So it's a V12 Allison aircraft engine with 2 871 superchargers per engine. So one belt is on the front end of the engine and one belt is on the back of the engine. They're driving one.
That's pretty cool. We had the first drag car that I ever drove was my dad's 69 Camaro, and it was a 540 big block Chevrolet, but it had an 871 blower. So I'm pretty solid with an 871 blower deal. So that's what I always kind of attracted to was I was like, we had 871 roots deal and I can kind of back and forth it for that. So really I enjoy that part of it, but man, to see 2 of them on a V12, that'd be pretty stout.
If they get that thing figured out, it's going to be cool.
Everything. Yeah.
Going to take some. That's definitely not one of those deals that like 5 other people have and they go, here's the base tune-up. No, we have to build the base because nobody else has this.
That's the thing though too, is that Europe in that aspect is so much more diversified in that stuff than we are, especially with the modified class specifically. It's insane what they run over there.
It's interesting to speak with some of our friends from Germany and the UK and such because like your drag racing over here is what we call the Great American Motorsport. Over there, it is like crickets.
Yes, non-existent.
It's barely existent.
So I've been to Australia twice. I've been to Malta, which is a small island outside of Italy, and then I've been to Kuwait, all for drag racing stuff, and Brazil as well, in South America. So it's cool to like go to all these different countries and be like, all right, in America it was this way or that way or anything like that. But the one thing I noticed when I went to Malta over in Europe was like, this is not the happening thing. You can tell you're kind of on the back burner, and really when you think about it in a grand scale of like fans and TV turnout, really drag racing is kind of behind when it comes to NASCAR or F1 or IndyCar or anything like that. Starting to battle it out with IndyCar pretty good on TV ratings and stuff like that. So the growth
place to be right now in my
I was fixing to say it's like it's funny because we started growing pretty solid like on the NHRA TV numbers and the TV ratings, and then all of a sudden the IndyCar stuff kind of got big with the Road to 100 or the Road to Indy and all that, the 100 Days to Indy show. And it like kind of took them off, and I'm like, damn it! Like we were almost like we were starting to battle it out pretty tough with IndyCar on some TV ratings, and then F1 blew up with the Netflix show, and then NASCAR's just been the benchmark for so many years. When it comes to motorsports and being the big name on television, that always kind of seems to be the one that draws the most attention. But drag racing's doing a really good job of getting out there, really on a grassroots level. I feel like there's more drag strips than there are circle tracks. I feel like I may be wrong to say that, but it seems like it's really easy for people to understand drag racing, and I think that's what's kind of cool about it because I said it on a marketing video we just did for PDRA. Everybody's pulled up to a stoplight, looked over and looked at the other guy and said, "I bet you I can beat him to the next one." And at that point, you drag raced, not legally,
not legally.
Yeah, didn't do it where you're supposed to, but that's kind of, and I tell people all the time, that's where it's kind of how it starts is you go, that was fun. And then you start learning what drag racing is, and then you end up going to a race to watch, whether it's a NHRA or a PDRA or whatever it may be. And it kind of just sinks you in, and you start involving yourself. And, NHRA has done a good job of building a street legal program where you can take your daily driver and go to the racetrack and race. And that's a cool, we have a class at Virginia called Street ET, which is, I can take my Jeep and go bracket race on a Saturday night and just, hey, you're just out there bracket racing with your street driver. And it takes the scare of I've got to go buy a pro mod out of the budget, because that's on another level. And really, I've got a 69 Camaro that's same thing. You look, somebody that's just now getting in looks at it, goes, I don't want to spend that much money. Well, you don't have to. And that's always kind of what's cool about drag racing, is you can do it with anything.
And I think that's where drag racing is excelled when it comes to integrating new people in. It's a lot easier stepping stone up the staircase for them to get to where they want to be.
Yep.
But everybody's got to start somewhere.
Got to start somewhere.
And I think also with the junior direction level, it piques their interest a lot earlier and a lot sooner, whereas they'll want to do it for the rest of their life or as long as they can.
Yeah, it's a drug.
What we do is a drug too, I promise.
I think that they're all drugs.
They're all drugs. They're all legal. They're all legal drugs.
They're legal, but
they're legal.
But it's all a drug at the end of it, because it's just all and it's wild. We've said it in numerous things and stuff like that. You know, everybody has that adrenaline rush that they chase, whether it's you're going to get on a roller coaster. Amusement parks are open for a reason, and people pay and they go get on a roller coaster, and they have a thrill or a rush or whatever that may be for them. And we get to enjoy that as a motorsport or as a group or whatever. And, you know, people that are into that kind of stuff, it's usually what kind of falls over to motorsports. You can kind of see a correlation between the two at most times. And that's what's cool about our whole world, really, is when you really sit back and look at it, you can kind of connect the dots between, hey, if you like an amusement park, you probably like motorsports. You might not know it yet, but you probably do, because it's kind of the same thing. And then when you connect the dots and kind of line it all up, it's really cool.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Wyatt, you got anything else for Tyler?
Where do you?
I got a question for Wyatt.
Shoot,
I got a question. When are you going to come to a race, since you bailed out on us?
I've actually been to more nitro races than he's been races total. We have a local drag strip here. It's called. I know. I really want to, but my geographic location, right there.
Yeah, you're the other way.
I'm the other way.
Yeah.
No, but we do have a local tri-state raceway where we get some of the NHRA division races where you can see top alcohol, funny cars, dragsters, bracket racing, stuff like that.
Exactly where that is.
But I've been to Chicago many times.
Chicago, gosh, Monty, that's a good
Chicago's its own monster.
That's a monster itself. Cool place, though.
Yeah, definitely. Wyatt, you want to talk about anything else? I mean, we covered everything else pretty much at the beginning. It's another busy week in motorsports as a whole. You guys have got the week off. I bet you're kind of ready for some rest after this past weekend.
I was just going to ask Tyler, where do you think the season's going to go? What do you think the good points championships or the most interesting points championships are going to be?
Pro Boost.
Yeah, it's probably going to be Pro Boost. I will say we have a sportsman class right now. I can't remember which one it is. If I remember right, between 1 and 14 is like 3 rounds of points. That one will be insane, because it's tough competition. Pro Boost is a monster right now. So I think when Pro Boost turns, everybody pays attention. Pro Nitrous is always a fight as well. The boss man, Tommy's kind of coming in as reigning world champ. Has struggled early in the year and then has looked pretty good and won at Maryland and has been pretty stout from there. But, man, Pro Boost right now is such an animal that, like we talked about earlier, anybody that qualifies can go win the race. There's not an easy round. If you qualify number one, you know, usually you're kind of like, all right, I've kind of got somebody that's either struggled in qualifying or something like that. It's not that way in Pro Boost. I really feel like anybody that makes it to race day can win the race. So I feel like that's the class that right now we're kind of spearheading. As PDRA, it's really hot. Everybody's starting to pay attention to it. So I definitely want to lean on the Pro Boost side of it. One of our newer classes in Pro Street, which is basically same kind of engines in these cars, but they're factory appearing. factory wheelbase, and they sit on a tire that's 10.5 inches wide. Those cars are animals to watch because, of course, now they don't have the big tire on the back and their power management. They run 390s, 4.0s, but at the same time, their level of competition and even level of difficulty is higher than a Pro Line team. So that class has been pretty stout so far this season in championship points, and I think that will continue to grow and be one to watch as well. But if you're asking for one class to watch, I got to go Pro Boost this season. It's definitely the one.
Yeah.
Do you think Steadings take one? Do you think Steadings take one of the two classes in points?
Ooh, that's tough. I will say Kurt's new Camaro that he debuted earlier this year is probably the best car I've ever seen Kurt in. And you can tell that Kurt is enjoying the car because he's been very consistent as a driver. And you've seen him kind of drive himself out of a lap or two that you go, ooh, he wouldn't have done that in his old car. So he really trusts the car that he has right now. And Todd's got a really good handle on it. And Ethan's been completely impressive in his car. He's had a couple of rounds where he's kept all his stuff together and his opponents haven't. He's had a couple of buys in final rounds in two races. But I'll say to come out of a junior dragster going 790 at 84 miles per hour in the 8th mile and jump in a car that makes 3,500 horsepower and sitting on a 10.5-inch tire and go 390s at 200 and do it in a transition period that he has. It's been extremely impressive to watch. I've told his dad, it's impressed me to see how much he's grown up in the last probably 8 to 12 months, just in a way of being able to handle a race car and not overdrive it. A lot of people will get behind the wheel and think you can drive it out of a spot and really get themselves in trouble. And Ethan's done a good job of, if it doesn't feel right, just lift, go back, make changes, and come back and make another lap. And if it's not your day to win the race, it's not your day. But he's done an excellent job of that to be at his age. I think he just turned 17. The kid is a rock star in a race car. So it would not surprise me to see one of the two win a championship. I think Kurt's leading right now, actually, in Pro Boost.
He is. Melanie's sitting there.
But I was about to say, Melanie's been chasing a championship in Pro Boost for a lot of years. The new car that they just debuted is better. I think it's going to be better than the old Camaro, and the old Camaro was really good. So I'm not counting out Melanie. I'm not counting out Todd. Can't count out Spencer, Derek. It's just such a tight team or tight field. And then Jason Harris now looks like he's back in championship form, and Jason can drive and let go of the button on the starting line better than anybody in the class. So it wouldn't surprise me to see Jason start putting his name back in the way of, hey, don't forget me. I'm wearing the number 1 on the window for a reason.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So can you miss a race and still be in the hunt for the points then?
I always said you couldn't. But this year's been so wild. Like Todd D and Q'd on 1, and he's number 3 in points. Yeah. Spencer wasn't able to make it to 1, and he's still 5th. So it's just been a wild year of ups and downs and early exits, and just one of those years you can't script. A lot of seasons you can look at it and go, okay, you kind of get all right, these are your 4 guys that are out front, or 5 guys, or these teams are pushing. Steve King just won $50,000 at Cecil County.
He's another one.
Yep, just was number 1 qualifier at Maryland. Stout program right there for Gene Pilot that owns that thing. But again, it's just such a deep class that I think you're going to see championships being decided where you don't have to be at all of them, but you've got to be an absolute stellar performing car if you miss one.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. I didn't realize that Halsey had got knocked out of first place in points in Pro Nitrous.
Yep. Yeah, Halsey went out first round at Maryland. Ended up not getting out of the racetrack first round, and I think Tommy's up to number 1. I think Halsey's 2, and I think Freddie Scriba's 3. And Freddie just won Pro Nitrous at Pro Stars on Saturday. So yeah, it's going to be a tight field.
All these guys are riding in momentum from everywhere, it seems like.
Yep. It's always an exciting time of year because these are the races where when it's hot outside, everything's not as easy. You have to kind of lay up a little bit, and you can shake the tire and go out early, and you can go from a hero to a zero real quick. And that's what's wild about our sport.
Yeah. You guys have got so many sponsors on your page too. I mean, I'm just sitting here. I've got the website pulled up over here on my other monitor.
I just figured you were playing solitaire and didn't want to listen, but it's fine.
Oh, geez, no.
Sometimes he does. Sometimes he does. He just doesn't tell you.
I do too. Don't feel bad.
No, but I mean, just all of the sponsors that you guys have in all of the classes. I mean, it's incredible.
Yeah,
I mean, you have your PDRA official sponsors. I mean, you have your class sponsors. I mean, I'm just looking through.
Redline Oil's come on as a real good sponsor for you guys.
Yeah.
Mark and Redline Mark Beatty with Redline Oil. He is not only has he become the title sponsor of the deal. Mark has become a really close friend. Not only even on a series side, but just on a personal level. He has been in motorsports for longer than I've been alive, and not an old joke if Mark's watching, by the way. But
Sure.
he brings so much experience to something, not as a branding partner, not as a, hey, I'm trying to sell oil, but brings a, how do we make this better mentality. And it's not just for Redline Oil, not just for PDRA, but it's for every racer, for every fan, for everybody that watches at home. And to bring another mind into the mold that we've had, Mark has opened the door completely to so many things, and really to partner with people like we do. I know Shane's looking at the list, and it's, I can rattle off a couple of them and I don't want to leave anybody out. So I'm just going to say everybody that partners with us.
Yeah, dude. There's no way you can.
Man,
when you have a lot of sponsors that you got to say all of them, you're doing well.
Yeah. I'm just going to say everybody on the PDRA660.com sponsors page, we couldn't do it without them. I will say, whether it's a gift certificate for a number one qualifier, whether it's a monetary value that helps us put somebody, puts a purse together, whether it's just a bonus program that we do, anything of the sorts, we wouldn't be what we are without our marketing partners. We wouldn't be able to do the things we do. We wouldn't be able to race at the racetracks we race at without the people that support us. Not only the racers, but also the companies that we try to do our best to keep them in business. I have a running joke with Frank Papp from Hoosier Racing Tire, and we always go, hey, everybody come out and do real big burnouts because Frank needs to sell more tires. and I used to work at VP Racing Fuels, so we would always encourage burn downs on the starting line. That's right. Stay up there and burn. Nobody stage. Burn all the fuel you can because you need to buy more.
Yeah.
And we always had running jokes like that. But it's a revolving door of how this whole program works. Really, it's a deal where, racers have to buy tires that are used up on a race car go on our drags to prep the racetrack, and then we take those off, and it's everything just gets kind of remodeled, and the more that the wheel turns, everybody's more successful, and everybody's able to give back more to people that were able to do that. So it's all a revolving door, and everybody's kind of a partner, even if you don't even know it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking through here, just looking to see which ones cross over with us. I mean, first one, obviously, VP Racing. I mean, that's a big one for us. And Summit. I'm pretty sure I've seen Fuel Tech somewhere along the way.
Yeah, if you haven't, you probably will soon. I'm sure they're diving into it. They're an awesome crew from Brazil, really, where they started, and then they've moved a group to US. And I've got Fuel Tech on my stuff, and I'm a hard advocate for them. So they're a very good product.
Any idea on this one? How long before we see Jay Cox back behind the wheel?
Jay retired. Jay's behind the wheel of a boat. Enjoying life on the boat right now. He's probably going to text me a picture here in a minute, but I don't know. I'm sure Jay will get a hunch and want to get back in a race car at some point. But
they've all got to scratch the itch at some point again, even after stepping away.
Yeah, no, you can't just step away and say, I'm never doing it again. So I'm sure it will happen at some point. I don't know when.
Yeah, I just got a text too. It said that the Force team is going to be returning to the racetrack this weekend. Yep.
Brittany's going to be back in the top fuel car, and then Austin will still be in the funny car. So that was definitely not the way we wanted to make news at Virginia.
Oh no, that was at your place.
Yeah, that was at our place.
Oh, my bad.
That was a wild deal. I grew up John Force fan. Like, I have probably 20 diecast cars at the house, got signed National Dragster covers, like you name it from John's. I've probably got it through his career. And I did an interview with a local news station about kind of drag racing safety. And I remember word for word saying, you just watch your childhood hero hit the wall at 280 miles per hour. Like, that's scary. And, we all look back at it now and we've all learned stuff from it, whether we learned it from a racetrack standpoint, we learned it from a safety standpoint from NHRA, a team standpoint for how they build the cars, everything like that. So I'm glad John's making a good recovery. It was good to see Brittany's posts on Facebook and Instagram the other day. Ashley's post, all the girls posted stuff on Instagram and all of that. So it was great to see John. Scary moments, for sure. And really you see the guy that created your sport, really. He wasn't Wally Parks, and he didn't make the first drag race, and he didn't do that, but drag racing wouldn't be drag racing without John Force. And to witness all that happen was not a fun sight to be with. But to see him make the recovery that he did, get out of the car the way he did and all that, it was a blessing. It was a miracle to see it. There's people that have gone through wrecks not near as bad or near at the speed that he had and weren't able to make it out. But the safety teams and all the things that they've learned at JFR, saved John's life. And I can completely attest to that from all the safety stuff that NHRA has implemented and all of that saved John's life at 75 years old, hitting the wall at 280 to 300 miles per hour and going through the ride that he did. So he's got a long road to recovery still, it sounds like, but he is making a very good progress from where he was, so I think about 17 days or 3 weeks ago. I think he's made a really good move from what Brittany and Ashley's posts have said. So we definitely have been praying for John, not only at VMP, being where the crash happened, but also just as a sport in general.
Oh yeah, motorsports icon. Everybody knows the name John Force, no matter what motorsport realm you come from.
Yeah, I told people after it was wild. Like we tested the next day, just private testing for teams that wanted to stay, and within like probably 48 hours of the crash happening, I think I had emails from like everybody but CNN. Like it was so wild of how many people reached out of, hey, what's going on? Can we get an interview? All this stuff. And I was like, no, we're not talking about it until the family comes out and talks about it. Mm-hmm. I want nothing to do with it.
Yeah. It's not our information to speak.
Yeah. You respect the family at that point, and you put John's health at that point was first and foremost for everybody.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was wild just to see I'm like, really? Like, we wanted to make the news for something cool. Like, we did not want to make the news for a crash.
That was not. Of all
I
the
didn't realize
that was not
place,
it.
Though I kind of feel bad for bringing it up now. I didn't realize that was your place.
Yeah, no, we've talked about it a lot, but it was.
Yeah.
But I will say, you never want anything like that to happen.
No,
100%. You don't want that to happen at a testing tune with a street car, much less at an NHRA national event with a funny car or top fuel. But I can tell you, we've already learned things that I'm not gonna say we would have never learned, but we've taken different routes of, hey, you know what? I didn't know we might have needed this on top end if we have a crash. We need to put that in our safety truck, or hey, we may need to come up with a different plan of communication to keep things moving a little smoother, whether it's outside, whether you have a county radio that's dialed in to where you can make direct calls or anything like that. So as a sport as a whole, outside of Virginia, I'm sure there's things as well that have been learned just because of John's crash. But I can say just from our facility, we've learned so much and things that we now will have on all of our safety vehicles that we didn't have before. Not that we weren't prepared, but things that were like, never thought that you might need an impact wrench to take off that panel. And you start looking at things and you go, wow, didn't really think about that. So it's a lesson. We all learn things. You hate to learn things in those situations, but at the same time, you're glad that you've learned things before that kept John safe and kept him here today.
Yeah. Well, that's all I've got, guys.
Thank gosh. Worst questions ever.
Do you have any questions for us?
Yeah, anything. Shoot.
I'll ask one, and I'm gonna ask one. It's not hard. It's a pretty cool one. What is y'all's favorite like crossover between your favorite motorsport to drag racing? Whether it's the mechanical side, the speed, whatever it may be. What makes you go, I can see our sport in drag racing?
Oh, it's easily the mechanical side and just the components that are used. I learned just last week, I was eating lunch with some of the guys that they don't drive full time anymore. They'll hop in the seat every once in a while on the truck and try to pull inside. And they were like, and I was telling about my experience getting to go down to Galat, and they asked how all this started and all that. And come to find out, they know the Museys really well.
Oh yeah,
yeah, using it on their engines and everything on two-wheel drives throughout the years.
That's cool. Pat builds all of Tommy's motors for his stuff, and then I've got one of Pat's motors in my Camaro. So Pat is Pat and that family is a very close, very very close friends with us. So.
It's just so much more intertwined than I dare realized.
It is.
I'm gonna say the safety aspect, and when it comes to interchanging of parts, because when it comes to pulling or drag racing, the safety equipment comes first. You always need it. And there's always things we need to learn ourselves, because we've had a lot of problems with drag racing has the forward back with Hans device and everything. What we've been trying to learn and intertwine and implement is the side to side stuff, because it's like even John had there. It's that lateral smack that we're trying to prevent.
Yep.
So I think a lot of safety implementation is one. Like seat molds when it comes to race cars is big. We don't have that in polling because we interchange drivers all the time. So it's kind of like take a basic racing seat, put it in, one size fits all.
Yep.
For the most part.
For the most part, yeah. Other than that, I mean, I think what we've started to implement more too is the display of stuff. Drag racing, in my opinion, drag racing and dirt track blows pulling out of the water when it comes to display of haulers and sponsors and the pullers and icons themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So,
when you
come to say NHRA, PDRA, any sort of race, the haulers are like this all the way down. And I mean, you can see the sponsors right on the trailers. You can see the awnings coming out. Everything is lined up nice and neat. So you pull right in, you work on your stuff, pull back out, up to the starting line. Pulling, it's just like cattywampus everywhere sometimes.
Yep.
So, I think the display part, I think we're learning more and more on the display and the showmanship of our stuff.
Yeah. I kind of want to see how you run your pull, though, because of running the drag races and everything, like how organized it's going to be, like parking and everything together. I'll be curious to see how that is.
I think
please organize. Please with the pullers over organized than under organized, because it's so much easier.
Yep. We always have, everybody has this joke about me. They're like, yep, we bring the most OCD person we know over to drag racing and put him in a spot where he has to like organize things. So it's because I'll always over organize a bunch of things and go, damn, that was a little bit much, but it seems like at the end of the day, it always seems to work out and it always seems to be well liked. I feel like whenever we all go to events and stuff like that, even from a racer standpoint, whenever I get to race, I like to know where I'm supposed to be and what time I'm supposed to be there and that type of stuff. So being organized, it kind of, sometimes you're like, dang, that's over the top. But at the same time, I think it's what everybody likes. I think everybody wants to have an expectation of they not want to make a mistake, whether that's even going to work or that's going to do something fun. They just want to know what their roles are and what everything is, and they want to know where to be and when to be there. So I definitely will agree there. And that's pretty cool. I wanted to know kind of where you guys stood on the back and forth between all the works of motorsports. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I will be the first to admit we have a lot to learn yet.
We do too. Don't feel bad.
Yeah, you guys are kind of leading the way, I feel like.
I can agree on that. You guys are leading the way when it comes to that stuff.
We try hard, that's for sure. We've got a lot of good people involved in our sport, just like you guys do as well. So there's a lot of people that push hard and try to be on the cutting edge of things and really try to be on the front edge of anything that goes wrong or try to keep bad things from happening. So
Yeah.
I think that's across the board in all of it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm out of stuff, Shane.
Yeah. I'm out of stuff too, man. We've been at this an hour and a half. Tyler, thanks for coming on. I know I text you. It was late notice for you to come on, but
all good, man. I
we
appreciate
really
it. Thank
appreciate
you
it.
for the opportunity. And man, it's always good to see you guys. And Wyatt, we'll get you to a drag race one of these days over here with us. Shane, you got to come back, hang out on another one.
Yeah. I plan on it. Trust me. Like I told you, whenever I got home from Galad, you guys may have fan for life after that weekend.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate it. Wyatt, I'll leave you some tickets at the door. Be like Ricky Bobby. I'll just leave tickets for Dad all the time, man.
Shake and bake, buddy.
I love it. Yeah.
Y'all be good. Thank you again for the opportunity. Thanks for all you guys do.
We might be knocking on your door for some other guest ideas.
Come on.
Yeah.
I enjoy it, man. That's what we're here for.
So,
Yeah.
Thanks,
All right.
everybody.
Thanks,
Appreciate it.
See ya.
See ya.
see you, Tyler.